Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette and part 2 about our suit lingo and terminology series. If you haven't already done so, please check out part 1. And if you want to learn more about suits, such as how a suit should fit, different hallmarks, please check out our in-depth guides on the website where you'll learn everything you need to know about suits. Okay, let's continue with shoulder terminology. First up, the sleeve head, which is the area where the sleeve comes in to the armhole of the body. So why is a sleeve head so important? Basically, the way you fold fabrics and whether you add padding or not really influences the shape and the look of the sleeve and how it rolls on the sleeve head. Basically, if you think about it, you have one layer of fabric that comes from the shoulder and one layer of fabric that comes from the sleeve. Now, the ends of the fabric where it's sewn together can either be folded both towards the shoulder, which is called a spalla camicia, or they can be both folded down, which creates usually an effect slightly like a pagoda shoulder where it comes up. Or you can fold the sleeve end to the sleeve side and the shoulder one to the shoulder side, which is more a traditional unadventurous look. When you hear the term structured shoulder, it typically means that there is some form of padding. It's a little stiffer and it helps the fabric to drape nicely. It's typically something you find in military tailoring where you want something to look authoritative and impressive. British or German tailoring traditionally has more padding in the shoulder area. On the other hand, French tailoring and Northern Italian tailoring usually have less, and Southern Italian tailoring have even less or no padding at all. Ultimately, using padding can also be used to extend the shoulders slightly and make it look more impressive. So if you have very thin shoulders, adding a little bit of padding can give you the illusion of broadness, if that's what you want. Again, this is something you can only do in a custom or bespoke garment, not with a ready-to-wear garment. In my case, my right shoulder is a lot lower than my left one, so I could use padding to achieve the effect of symmetry. Typically, in places like Germany, you would always try to create a symmetrical effect because that's how humans define beauty and an aesthetic. If you talk to Southern Italians, they often believe that shoulders shouldn't be hidden and the shape they are should be considered in making the pattern. There's no right or wrong, it's simply two different schools of thought, and ultimately you have to decide what works best for you. Personally, I have padded and unstructured, unpadded jackets in my collection. I also have jackets where the right shoulder is padded a lot more than the left one. And what I notice is when I put it on a hanger, which is symmetrical, I end up with wrinkles in the back that I have to iron out before I wear it, because otherwise it just won't quite work. The same is true if my lower dropped shoulder is considered in the pattern making process. As soon as it goes into the hanger, I'll see little wrinkles in the back because now the asymmetrical jacket hangs on a symmetrical hanger. Sometimes you hear the term roped shoulder or the Italian term spalla con rollino, and what it means is that the sleeve head kind of curves up a little bit and then down. This effect is achieved by folding both end layers to the sleeve side as well as adding an extra layer of fabric that's a little bit stiffer, so you get that little high up curved con rollino effect. Personally, I like the look of a roped shoulder because it's just more three-dimensional than a regular flat shoulder. Sometimes you also hear the term pagoda shoulder, which uses padding in a way to create a slightly concave effect where it goes down on your collar and then back up on the sleeve head. When people talk about a soft shoulder or a natural shoulder, they talk about a shoulder construction without padding that feels very comfortable and normal. The look is also more natural because it just follows the line of your shoulders. It's typically a look that is more relaxed, and it's very popular for more casual suit jackets or sport coats. Sometimes people also talk about the spalla camicia, which is the shirt style shoulder, which means there is no padding and both sleeve ends are tucked in towards the shoulder side. Because of that, you see a very flat sleeve head Sometimes it has little waves in it if it comes from southern Italy, but it's a very distinct stylistic choice, which I don't find very pleasing for a business suit, but I can totally see it on a casual linen suit, for example. If you see little puckering along the sleeve head, Italians sometimes call it mappina or little rag. For Italians, it's a hallmark of handwork. A typical German tailor, on the other hand, would consider it to be a defect. Again, there is no right or wrong, it's a personal matter of choice. In my opinion, it makes the most sense to implement such details with tailors who are experienced with it. So I wouldn't ask a tailor in Germany or England to give me that kind of puckered look. And likewise, I wouldn't ask a Neapolitan tailor to give me a very clean German or British look, because that's not what he does and what he's trained for. In terms of jacket pockets, there's lots of choices out there, even though most suit pockets today are very simple and boring. If you've ever come across the term barchetta, which means little boat, it refers to the outside chest pocket on your jacket that is cut in a shape that resembles a small boat. Traditionally, an English suit or a German suit would have very straight cut pockets, whereas a barchetta is distinctly concave, oftentimes with heavy contrast stitching. Otherwise, it's just called the outside chest pocket or the chest pocket. When you hear the term patch pockets, that refers to pockets that are literally patched onto the outside of the jacket. You can find them for chest pockets as well as for the side pockets. Flap pockets are a slit that is cut and then a flap that is attached to it. The flap prevents things falling out of your pockets, but it's also a stylistic choice. Most flap pockets are tailored in a way so they can be tucked in to achieve the effect of a jetted pocket. In terms of formality, a jetted pocket is more formal than a flat pocket, which is more formal than a patch pocket. So for tuxedo or evening wear, you'll always see jetted pockets, never flat pockets or patch pockets. Another pocket you'll sometimes come across is so-called a ticket pocket, which is placed above a pocket, usually on the right side, but if you have something custom made, you can also have it done on the left side. Traditionally, this was a little pocket where you could keep a little ticket. Today, you can add your change into it or anything else that's so small that you don't want to put it in your bigger pocket. In terms of the inside pockets of a suit, you sometimes can find pen pockets, which are just designed to hold a pen. Or if you go with a custom suit, you can really pick and choose what you want and make it work for you. In terms of the suit body, another term you might come across is called drape. We created an article about it a few years back, and I strongly suggest you read it because it provides the basis of drape in men's suits. At a very basic level, drape describes how fabric flows along your body, because ultimately it's woven two-dimensionally, but your suit is three-dimensional. However, if the term drape is mentioned in terms of suits, it usually refers to an excess amount of fabric over the chest or your back blades, which create the visual appearance of broader chests. It also can create more comfort, and it's a very distinct style that was popular in London in the 30s and that then came to the US. And generally, people either love it or they hate it. I rarely find people who are kind of in between. Personally, I have suits with drape and without, and I don't have a preference for one over the other. I just like having both in my wardrobe because it provides me with different looks. A very famous house for the drape style is Anderson & Shepherd from Savile Row in London. They combine it with a soft tailoring style, which is typically associated with the drape cut. Again, to learn more, check out the guide here. When you come across the term darts, that usually refers to seams in the front of your jacket. It can also be in the back of your jacket, but what it typically does is to remove fabric to create a more desired silhouette. Most garments in Germany, England, or France will have darts that reach from the pocket up to the chest area. In Italy, sometimes in Naples, you can see darts that go all the way past the pocket to the bottom edge of the suit. A few decades back in the US, the sack suit style was very popular, which had no front darts, and thus very little definition, making you look like a sack. Most men today don't find it very flattering, and darts just help to create more of an hourglass shape, which is flattering for most men. The term waist suppression is related to darts, and it refers again to the hourglass shape. If you have more waist suppression, the waist and the closing button sits closer to your body. At the same time, the width of your shoulders can change, so you get more of that upper V shape that is very attractive to most people. Typically, a higher degree of waist suppression also creates the illusion of wider shoulders, and it has a slimming effect on the overall look. Sometimes you also see the terminology drop. What it refers to is the difference between the chest measurement and your waist measurement. So let's say I have a suit size 42 with a drop 6. That means my waist is 36 inches and my chest is 42 inches. Again, the higher the drop, the more waist suppression you have, the broader your shoulders will appear and the slimmer you will look. Now obviously there's a limit to that, which is your actual waist measurement, because if the drop is too high and the waist suppression is too much, you get X wrinkles, which makes you look bigger again because it looks like a suit that doesn't fit you. In general, a standard ready-to-wear drop is 6. If you have 7 or 8, that means it has more of a slimmer silhouette around the waist. If you're a bigger gentleman, you want a lower drop. When you hear the term quarters, it refers to the front pocket flaps of your jacket. On a double-breasted jacket, they're typically cut at a right angle and they reach all the way down. On a single-breasted jacket, that would look odd, and so it's oftentimes cut away to different curves and angles. If the quarters are very closed, it can have a more old-school appearance and look. If they're very open, it can look fresher, more modern and younger. However, pay attention not to open things up so much that you would see the shirt peeking out from underneath the buttoning point, because that looks weird. Another effect of open quarters is to make the bottom part look wider, thus balancing out broad shoulders. So if you have broad shoulders, having more open quarters can look advantageous. On the other hand, more close quarters maintain the emphasis on the shoulders, but again, don't have them too closed, otherwise it looks like an old man's suit. When someone talks about the skirt, it's not the skirt that women wear, it's basically the bottom half of your jacket all the way around. It contains the quarters in the front, but also the back. When it comes to vents, there's also a bunch of differences. Basically, vents are the slits that you can find on the back part of the skirt. You can have a single center vent, which is derived from horseback riding, and you can have side vents, which are probably the best option for most suits out there today, because they allow you to put your hands in your pocket while always covering your rear. In the 30s, ventless jackets were very popular because they give you the closest silhouette possible, and so you can still find evening garments that typically have no side vents, because it's all about the ultimate style. The length of the vent can also have a huge impact on how it's perceived. Very short vents have a very 70s appearance. If the vent is too long, it might gap. As a general rule, the end of the vent on top of the jacket should line up with your pocket. Now, of course, if you decide to have your pocket angled, that rule doesn't apply anymore, but it's a good rule of thumb to get nice long vents that don't gap. Some nifty tailors even add a little bit of weight to the vents so they always hang nicely. It's particularly a good idea if you have a big bum like I do. Last but not least, when it comes to the hidden items of the suit, we talk about the lining as well as the canvas. That can be a full canvas, a half canvas, or a glued or fused inner lining. To learn all about those things, the differences, what's preferable, and how much each thing costs, please check out this video guide here. Also, for more details about all the things mentioned here in this video, please check out our in-depth written guide on the website. In today's video, I'm wearing a 3-piece suit that was custom made for me. It has medium wide lapels, it is a one-button jacket. Because of that, the lapels didn't need to be that wide. It's a three-piece suit with a matching vest, which is double-breasted, and because of that, I wear the jacket usually unbuttoned. I'm combining it with a white dress shirt with French cuffs and cufflinks in silver and lapis lazuli from Fort Belvedere. They work well with a Fort Belvedere necktie, which is made of an English madder silk. The pocket square is a white linen pocket square. It's very formal and goes well with my three-piece suit. The fabric has a slight orange stripe, which is picked up in the socks, which are shadow striped from Fort Belvedere in orange and charcoal. They provide enough contrast with the shoes and pick it up, so it's a harmonious outfit. I opted for single monk straps with a wingtip from Crockett & Jones. On the lapel, I have a Milne's buttonhole, which is hard to see though because I'm wearing a boutonniere from Fort Belvedere. On my ring, I'm having a lapis ring in sterling silver, which matches the cufflinks. All of the Fort Belvedere accessories can be found in our shop. And if you enjoy our videos and you want to support our content efforts, the best way to do so is to buy something from the shop.